but they took a bigger IP. They looked at the exact recipe. People are like, Marvel learned from Overwatch's failures. No, they didn't. They modeled the game after Overwatch's success more than anything. The game's just good. It's that simple. And I'm going to get into what they're doing better than Overwatch 2. And I'm going to tell you, I actually think this game will beat Overwatch 2 straight up. I used to be very interested in the Overwatch lore. I'm not gonna lie. They did so many of, like, my favorite characters have just been done so dirty in Overwatch.
We've all heard it said that hero shooters are a declining, oversaturated genre, and we know that there's a sizable graveyard. We just saw Concord die, but of course, that's an assessment that does not gel with Marvel Rivals' absolutely gigantic success, because somehow in a year where everybody has been mocking publishers over hero shooters and generally just mocking a lot of live service titles, Marvel Rivals is absolutely thriving, and that is not an overstatement.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that the hero shooter genre is dead is crazy. It's crazy. There just haven't been good, like, wasn't Concord like a PlayStation exclusive? Like, here's the thing. If you're making a multiplayer game exclusive on a platform, you are hurting yourself out the gate. Terrible business decision. Like, single player games and like Spider-Man PS4, one of the best single player games I've ever played that was exclusive to PlayStation, right? Go down the list, you know, like those types of games you can have as platform exclusives. But if you're making a hero shooter, you have to have it be open to the public on all platforms, or else you're shooting yourself in the foot. But yeah, no, I mean, the other one that came out was Gundam, and it just wasn't polished at all years ago. Like, it just wasn't, like, it didn't feel good. It didn't do anything unique, right? But Marvel, you know, you had the Marvel IP behind it, and they were wacky. They embodied what it meant to be a hero shooter, and they did it well. And like I said this from the moment I play tested the game. So we'll give it a watch. We'll keep it going. But yeah, I think Concord is just a very different situation in general.
10 million players in its first 72 hours, and by now, it's actually hit 20 million. This is so much activity that Steam's backend even struggled, and for some developers, it broke. They were not able to access the Steam backend to update their stuff, and this was all timed with Marvel Rivals absolutely ramming Valve servers, and of course, their servers were getting rammed by both Tencent and NetEase, because at the same time, Path of Exile 2 did happen to be doing quite well. So much so that together, Steam actually hit a new concurrency record of 39.2 million users online at once, which is crazy. But that's not what's truly noteworthy to me. A free-to-play game exploding and then just falling to pieces, or people quickly running away, a flash in the pan, that is not a surprise. It's actually what we tend to expect. And on the internet, when people tell you something is shocking, it's often hyperbole. Here, no. This is a shocking chart. This is the retention that we are seeing with Marvel Rivals, and this is genuinely impressive. It has essentially maintained its launch peak for an entire fortnight. This is a vanishingly rare achievement. It is absolutely stunning. The daily notes for this game are resting at 180k. And, well, they're good. The highs are good and regular. And I kind of remember the words of our erstwhile Prime Minister, Theresa May, strong and stable. It's rare for a new game to be that strong and stable. And if you're Blizzard, you're absolutely going to be feeling a sting. So much so, you'll definitely need to check out today's sponsor. Gorboot.dev.
Okay. So, look, I mean, first of all, make sure to check out this guy's channel, and honestly use his link for a boot dev, because it goes a long way for creators. And, you know, these brand deals are kind of how I fund my editors and stuff as well. But, you know, I told you all. I told you.
For free.
You know,
so what the hell's going on here?
Like, the second I played Marvel Rivals, I knew immediately. And I got, from May to now, I got so much shit in the Overwatch scene from different creators, or not even creators, I guess people. The game looks like a mobile game. It looks like shit. It's all of this cope, because, like, in the genre where people say it's a dead genre, it's just been Overwatch. Like, there's just been a brainwashing amongst players, where in their mind they have this default setting, I'll say, where it's Overwatch or nothing. Because in 8 years since Overwatch has been out, it's been 8 years. It's crazy to think about, right? Overwatch has been the only game in genre that's been competitive, that's been up to the A to S tier quality. There hasn't been competition. So what do everyone they think in their minds? They're like, oh, it's not Overwatch, it's going to suck. And they're not necessarily wrong for that, because there hasn't been good releases. Really, Overwatch came out. Overwatch 1 was the last classic game of the golden era of games. And when I say the golden era of games, I'm biased because this was my childhood, but from 2008 to 2016, I consider that the golden classic era of games. That's what I consider from my life. I know there was a whole generation before that, but like I tend to gap these years and section them up based on technology at the time and like the innovation, like where gaming was at the time, right? Overwatch was the last S-tier release of that generation because right after Overwatch, we went to PUBG, which was the next big game, and then Fortnite. And then Fortnite started the mainstream era of modern gaming, if you will, in the free-to-play model, right? It was the watershed in the box model. I'm not sure what that means, but I hear you. So, yeah, I mean, it's incredible. Like that Overwatch 1 was that last iteration of that era. And now we kind of move forward into this one now where really you've seen technology, like our PCs are significantly better than they were 8 years ago, right? But you haven't seen anything like Overwatch come out since then. Then you have Overwatch 2 come out. And I'll be honest with you, Overwatch 2 made Overwatch vulnerable. And we now know that this game had been in development for about 4 years, 5 years, right? And if you were the Marvel devs 2 years ago and you saw what was happening with Overwatch 2, you were licking your chops. You were licking your chops. And so all these people sit here and they're like, oh, well, it looks like shit. It's all this. But I played the game. And after playing 20, 30 minutes of Black Panther and seeing these characters and feeling their gameplay loops, feeling the decision making I had to make, even with Sustain being as bad as it is, Overwatch 2 going to 5v5 roll lock, and over the years, and this is where I almost admit that I'm wrong. We'll get to the, we're going to get to the video. I'll talk about it. I'm sorry, I'm yapping. Overwatch added more and more restrictions over time. And there were some of those that I pushed for, including roll lock. Well, I guess I asked for roll Q, not necessarily roll lock, but, who knows, right? I think I might have been wrong about that. I've talked about this extensively. And they've just expanded on it. And they did it in a little bit of a different way in third person, so they're unique. But they took a bigger IP. They looked at the exact recipe. People are like, Marvel learned from Overwatch's failures. No, they didn't. They modeled the game after Overwatch's success more than anything. From the menu screen, the music, the way characters talk in the lobby, with Asgardian lore on Loki's map where he's swirling around you, like everything. They modeled everything after Overwatch 1's success. And then they added on to it with hero bans and ranked. They added on to it all the other stuff. It's brilliant. I'll let it keep going.
Here. Marvel Rivals is a free-to-play just like Overwatch, but that's not really an even comparison because of price anchoring. Overwatch 1 was a paid game, and it was far less of a playable storefront than Overwatch 2 has ended up being, and that's what made Overwatch 2 sting. Of course, contrasted with all of the cool stuff that we were shown at BlizzCon that, of course, never ended up happening. With Rivals, well, it just has audience expectations being met. Everybody knows what to expect. I mean, for an extreme example, on this very channel, we caught a lot of flack for being harsh on the Delta Force microtransactions. To us, they were pretty damn bad microtransactions. That's why we criticized them pretty damn heavy in that video. But clearly, a lot of people didn't care at all, really. And I imagine it's because it was a free-to-play game, and it basically met their expectations. Here, then, Rivals is made by NetEase Games. They're a group who absolutely know how to retain players based on the countless large-scale free-to-play live service titles that they run, many of which are, of course, on mobile, and, well, they have many investments in so many other games as well. Now, brand-wise, this has got Marvel, but it's got a flavor of Marvel that, at least from my outsider's perspective, doesn't seem tarnished by MCU fatigue. I mean, looking at the game, they're clearly leaning into comic art.
It's comics, yes.
Their designs shine. It is the opposite of Concord.
Which has never been done. It's comics, dude. It's comics, man. It's comics. Ultimate Spider-Man, one of the best pieces of media I've ever read in my life. If you guys have not read the Ultimate Spider-Man series, I would absolutely recommend you do. Fucking fantastic. Jaw-dropping. I loved it when I read it.
Concord's a game that did have a few banging bits of concept art, but my god, there are not even words to describe how badly that all translated into Sony Photoreal 3D. It just didn't work. But Marvel Rivals has another strength. It is not wholly original, and you may think that's me just absolutely launching into an attack, but look, it is pretty similar to Overwatch, but that's not really the main point. One person who did try to make a point in this, though, was Mike Ybarra, our dearly departed Blizzard president, who is still out there hunting down some tasty high-growth opportunities. He launched a rather infamous tweet. I'm just going to read it out for you, and hey, you gotta get it here because he deleted the original. Quote, looks like Overwatch Marvel rival ships tomorrow. I mean, even the character name, Widowmaker in Overwatch versus Black Widow in Marvel Rivals, lol. NetEase Tencent,
Idiot.
All the same. Oh, Mike. Mike kind of had a point buried through the stupidity, but the tweet absolutely is...
the example he used is why it was so bad. I quoted this and I laughed at it. I laughed out loud because I was like, dude, like, you are missing the mark. This example is such a bad example. And it's not a bad thing either, by the way. Like, this is innovation. And the reason why like they're upset is they saw Overwatch as like their baby. But like seeing that reaction just shows you exactly why Blizzard fell off a fucking cliff, man. Really. Not an individual's fault, but it went all the way to the top. I'm sure he's a great guy. I don't know him that. I don't know much about him, to be honest. But that tweet right there just shows you everything you need to know about Blizzard. Everything you need to know. Everything you need to know. Just crazy, crazy.
It's just him literally saying that Black Widow, a character introduced in the year 1964, is a
exactly.
Widowmaker knockoff, which is not true. You could maybe say his actual point, though, is the character kits. In a way, it makes the point
they're not the same, though.
But it also shows why people are resonating with this game. Black Widow.
But also, like, by the way, like after playing against Black Widow, she's a better designed character. She's a better designed sniper than Widowmaker in Overwatch. She's way more balanced. Like, they actually made it more fair. Like, she has her strengths in the game, don't get me wrong, but she's weaker in general because she's hit scan sniper. Like after playing against this Widow and like having to dive her, like she has more tools to engage in like a counter dive rather than just like an instant one shot. And she can get you, and she can still pressure as a sniper. So I'll say this: Black Widow is better designed than Widowmaker. So Mike's tweet is even crazier because they actually did a better job of designing the sniper one shot hit scan hero than Overwatch did. Which is why I say it's a sequel. Like, Marvel Rivals is more of a sequel to Overwatch 1 than Overwatch 2 is. I still stand on that take. I stand on that take 100%. Because what is a sequel? What is the goal of a sequel? And it's hard. Listen, let me make this clear. It's very hard to do. Very hard to do. But to me, a sequel is a new iteration that builds upon the original. It takes an original to the next level. That's what a true sequel is. Okay? And there's a couple examples of them that I would say were like the best sequels of all time. I would say Arkham City was probably the best sequel of all time, going from Arkham Asylum, where they took the mechanics of Arkham Asylum and upgraded everything with an amazing story. And that was 10 years ago. Arkham City is still one of the best games I've ever played. You guys have not played the Arkham series as well. If you're looking for something to kill time with and get really into, man, the fighting mechanics in that game are brilliant. And unfortunately, Warner Brothers and who is the studio? WB Games Montreal? Are those the guys doing that? I know they recently did that Suicide Squad game and it didn't do well. Or maybe it did well at first and then fell off. But, you know, Arkham City is an example of one of the best sequels ever made. I would say Witcher 3 to Witcher 2 is another one where they just absolutely nailed it. But, I mean, they took everything that Overwatch 1 was and upgraded it. Well, Overwatch 2 released a diet version with less features than the original because they had to scrap the PvE. So it's, you know, Marvel Rivals is more of a sequel to Overwatch 1 than Overwatch 2 is. Genuinely. If you're looking at the genre and not the brand and what you do for the genre, this game's a step up. It really is.
Widow has got a rifle, it's got a scoped mode that does more damage, she's got a grappling hook. So yeah, she will totally appeal to Widowmaker mains. But take a look at gameplay footage they have added to the kit. You've got a knockback kick, you've got a melee baton plus a charged plasma round.
You can engage.
And it does come together to actually play differently. Now I get why Ybarra tweeted, but the gameplay here is
no
different,
research,
especially with its close range third-person brawl element that's going on.
Yeah.
And that's the point. Rivals does not just copy, generally speaking, it iterates.
Yes!
There's always going to be genre crossover. Maybe I'm going to take a look at, say, Paladins from Hi-Rez, but Marvel Rivals is different. Like Overwatch, it's got the split between tank, DPS, and support, and many of the 33 launch heroes do have direct crossovers, some that are absolutely leaned into. I mean, Black Widow probably doesn't need to be a sniper, and yeah, she'll definitely be like that to appeal to the Widowmaker mains. And some of them are inherent, like Hawkeye and Hanzo, who are both bow users, or Symmetra and Doctor Strange, who both use portals. But the thing that matters is that Rivals gets to cook with almost 70 years of inspiration and a wealth of real-world player experience from other hero shooters, and that means what we've got is a slick game that is an iteration rather than a clone. That is the point that Ybarra's absolutely dunked on tweet missed. And I think it's why this is a game that is actually surprising and delighting people. It has iterated and brought its...
The gameplay loop is so dynamic and unique. And I said this in the alpha. And like people who played knew. Everybody who actually gave it a chance knew. I wish I could pull up the messages from people. Like my friend Hannah, who is a tank player in Overwatch 1. My friend Blake, Johnny, right? You guys know Johnny, fucking dumbass. Stefan, my buddy, the ego checker, right? All of the boys are playing. The boys are back. My friend group is all playing. Like every group I have of guys that we would all talk to about games or waiting for the next game. We all played Warzone together. We played Overwatch 1 together. Shit, Overwatch 1 like literally changed my life in the way where I'm reconnected with old friends that I grew up with, that I had kind of like gone off on my own from the times I was like 16 to 21, really. I was on my own. And I just kind of like isolated myself from the world because of life circumstances, whatever it might be. And then because I hit rank 1 in Overwatch, and there was an article in the Lexington Herald Leader about me hitting rank 1 in Overwatch, some of my Little League teammates saw that video, came to my stream, donated $5. We went to Smashing Tomato. Then the next night, I went to their house for a little college party, I guess. That's where I met my roommate, now best friend, for the first time. Reconnected with all my old buddies, and that was our friend group. And that like literally changed my life. Every single one of those groups, the group chats are lit up of people playing Marvel Rivals because it's a good game and the gameplay loop is there. And nobody, like, you'd look at it at first glance and be like, this is just another game. But then the second you play it, and the retention shows this, the second you play it, you can't put it down. The game's just good. It's that simple. And I'm going to get into what they're doing better than Overwatch 2. And I'm going to tell you, I actually think this game will beat Overwatch 2 straight up. In a head-to-head, I actually believe that Marvel Rivals will end up surpassing Overwatch. I'm calling that now. I had a hunch. I wasn't sure how much, but after seeing what I'm seeing, and now I know what they're doing kind of behind the scenes as well a little bit, like in terms of like how they're handling stuff, like Overwatch is going to have to play catch-up. And I think with how bloated Microsoft is right now, it's going to be very difficult for them to do so. Like they'll survive and they'll have their niche. I'm not saying the game's going to die. But I think Marvel Rivals is going to take the crown, which is great for everybody. It really is great.
Its formula forward. And in a way, it's done that against traditional wisdom that would say that hero shooters on the downtrend, that there's MCU fatigue, and that the track record with hero games is actually pretty damn bad. When we think hero game, we're all just going to think of PlayStation Spider-Man, but that's because we've forgotten the massive graveyard of dead games, and even the Marvel graveyard, which will of course have Square Enix's Avengers in it. That was very much the lolcow of its year. But even good games that have got like big popular Marvel superheroes have failed to meet financial expectations. We've got two examples of this. One is Guardians of the Galaxy, and the other is Firaxis's Midnight Suns. And the thing is, those were both really good, well-reviewed games that just didn't sell. And then, of course, there's the now rather end-of-life Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Before that, there's Gotham Knights. So it's not been a good time. By comparison, though, Marvel Rivals has got half of the internet standing Jeff the Bloody Landshark, who I didn't even know existed, and it turns out has only existed since 2019. So this is not a case of put heroes in it that people know and suddenly everyone will start playing. No, what they've done is they've nailed the basics. They have carefully chosen some deep pools, they've chosen things that everybody knows, and they've executed it all to an extremely high standard. The mechanical diversity of this game, especially considering that it's only just launched, is absolutely insane. And that's a large part of why people will play it over Overwatch. One team can have, let's say, a teleporting ninja fight, multiple flight-based characters, web swingers, and where the web swinging actually feels good. If you've got Rocket and Groot, then you actually get an entirely new ability and game-wide mechanic on top of your existing set. And to quote from the game's director, the awesomely named Thaddeus Sasser, well, he basically said this: "I don't know about you, but when I heard the concept of the game, I was like, oh my god, I want to be Storm in a game. I want to be Doctor Strange in a game. I want these heroes in the game. That sounds awesome." And of course, my mind immediately leapt to all the cool possibilities you could have with that. And that seems like a very trite thing. I mean, of course he's going to say that. He's the director for the game. And it's absolutely not a fair one-to-one comparison, but do you know what appears in my head? Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, where the first reaction from most people when they watched that E3 trailer was, oh, this looks like a generic third-person shooter. Why are we just doing shoot-bang with guns? This doesn't really feel like Heroes. Which, obviously, broad market perception, what consumers thought, was not enough to get that game any cut through. Well, look, that's enough lavishing this game with praise. Let's get back to business, especially because there's a statistic that puts this whole thing in context. Matt Piscatella has got 2 decades of industry analysis experience. He's the executive director of Circana. They're a long-time analytics firm. They are not small. You actually may know one of the companies they just acquired. Nielsen, as in Nielsen of television ratings fame. So they're a big fish with massive corporate clients. Literally, their stock in trade is actually having good analytics. And what's great is Matt shares loads of games data in public. This chart shows the percentage of weekly actives by game title, and better than anything, this shows just how winner-takes-all this industry is, because we can see that the top 5 games hold 75% of audiences, like, just by player numbers. And if you're an indie, in a way...
In the multiplayer genre, that's absolutely true. Like, if you're a single-player game, I don't think that matters as much, but in multiplayer, like, multiplayer games are top-heavy. It's kind of like streaming, too, where it's like, you know, once you hit a certain threshold as a content creator, that's when you can really start your snowball. And like things completely change. Like once you hit a certain like viewership threshold, like everything changes. And I can say this as somebody who's had to build 2 channels in his life from nothing, 3 really. And obviously, actually, this channel is not the biggest channel I ever built. I built the original Mindplex Games channel back in the day, but YouTube was so different back then. But I can tell you, like, once my viewership hit a certain threshold, like, everything changed. I'm way more independent now. Like, I used to be, like, way more into being a part of big groups and stuff like that, but, you know, I kind of just focus on myself at this point. But it's crazy how that works in modern media. It's really cool. It's really, really cool.
Hey, that's okay, because you're fighting for the 25% of the audience, not the big 75%. You don't need that insane level of scale to be successful.
By the way, Call of Duty's next. Somebody eventually is going to get the Call of Duty. Like, they are, like, Blizzard is vulnerable. I'll talk about this towards the end. I'm going to let them finish, but, like, things are changing, is what I'll say.
Major AAA live service, you need to make a dent in that 75%. You need to fight with those games that are taking so many people in an absolute winner-takes-all industry. And of course, it's failing to do that that leads to the likes of, say, X-Defiant going under the way that it did.
Very sad.
Concord immediately dying because there was no real universe where it was going to get itself to where it needed to be. And it's in that context that Rivals is actually impressive, because in a winner-takes-all industry, it has managed to get cut through. And this is what their director had to say. It's pretty wise. There's a switching cost. I've already invested in Overwatch. I've got 15 skins for Pharah. I'm not going anywhere. I think the trick is you need to have that reason that people want to come and play your game, and I think Marvel Rivals does that exactly with the superhero. And that's basically the big point. Nailing fantasy and using the comics as an excuse to go extremely hard on designs and to make those designs fundamentally appealing. That has worked. Look, I'm not trying to be cruel to Concord on purpose, but just look at the skin variants. Look at what they look like, and now look at the things that you can buy within this game. Yeah. So, Mr. Herman Hulst of PlayStation, if you're confused about why Concord, which you reportedly were really bullish about, if you're kind of confused why it didn't really work out, this is a really good example. But even with all that good, there are 2 things to discuss. Number 1, business model. It's coming under some critique, and for strange ways, because it does seem a little bit pretty thought out, but also that this game is actually walking a very similar path to Overwatch, and they are going to have to be careful and make sure that they do not step into all of the rakes that, of course, Blizzard stepped into, meaning that Blizzard hit themselves in the face. Monetization first, and I'd say that it's
But Blizzard didn't hit themselves in the face with monetization. They hit themselves in the face by destroying one of the best shooters of all time, watering it down, and making it a light diet version of itself and calling it a sequel. Like, the monetization, like, people would be willing to look past the monetization. Like, I'm not like, listen, there are some Echo skins that I don't want to buy. Like, I understand why people don't like the monetization. But at the end of the day, people are still on playing Overwatch. That's pretty much it. That's it. Like, the monetization, people are annoyed by, but that's not a deal breaker. That's like, that might be the straw that broke the camel's back. But at its core, they simply made Overwatch 2 an inferior version of Overwatch. Less is not more. And Marvel Rivals' success has proven my exact point, the exact claim that I made about Overwatch, that Overwatch 2 is less, not more, and it's not resonating with people. Marvel did the opposite, and that's why it's been so successful. Everything that all the mainstream Overwatch creators complained about, by the way, everybody did. I'm one of the few who didn't, where I sat there and I said, listen, less is not more. The big combos, the big moments. Shout out Stylosa. He's the one who said this originally. And he's completely right. Shout out Stylosa. Real one. Love Stylosa. Love him. Love the dude. Great guy. Role model content creator for a lot of people. Like, Marvel took what made people play hero shooters, the heroes themselves, and how their abilities work, what makes them unique, because it's an endless gameplay loop to explore. And they doubled down on it with things like team-ups, seasonal team-ups, crazy, out-of-the-box, over-the-top abilities that would never go into Overwatch, because Overwatch is an FPS, not a third-person shooter. While Overwatch chose the opposite. They chose to remove a tank from the game. They simplified the kits, added numerous passives that essentially play the game for you. And this is the Activision Blizzard game design 101. Make something complicated and then make it brain dead and easy over time. But if you are trying to be a successful hero shooter, in my opinion, you need to double down on the crazy shit that makes your game different to play than Call of Duty. And those are the heroes, the abilities, the ultimates, all of these things. And even right now, like the Overwatch 2 6v6 test is like the most complicated the game's been. And like, it's so easy to fall in this mistake. And I say this as someone who fell into it when I was younger. I'm not saying this because like, oh, I'm always right. Dude, I made the same mistake when I was 17 years old. I was playing Mineplex Champions. And what Mineplex Champions was, is it essentially was like a hero shooter in Minecraft PvP. It was the hero shooter in Minecraft PvP, which is one of the biggest multiplayer phenomenons ever until Mojang intentionally killed it. They were so clueless on that. And I could go on for hours about how 1.9 combat absolutely massacred the Minecraft multiplayer space. Mojang took a freaking rocket launcher bazooka, aimed it at the multiplayer space, and shot, and it killed almost all of these servers that were popular, and their space has never recovered. The Minecraft multiplayer space to this day has not recovered. And that was one of the big reasons why, in my opinion. I think many others will agree, but we'll see. Okay. But yeah, no, so like Mineplex Champions was out, and when Better MC, which is the original server that I started on back in the day, merged with Mineplex to become merged with Castle Siege to become Mineplex, they took Champions, which basically you could build your own kit. There are 5 kits: Mage, Assassin, Knight, Brute, and Ranger. And you could put different skill points into different abilities. Like you had a sword ability, an axe ability, a bow ability if your kit had a bow, 2 passives, and a global passive, right? And you could put like between 1 and 3 to 1 and 5 skill points into each ability. You could build your own class.
Greetings.
And that was really fun, which meant you do a ton of different builds, amp your damage. Like you could do anything, right? Really anything. And when we merged with Mineplex, in order to make the game easier to understand, quote, to attract to more players, they removed the levels out of every skill. So every skill was 1 level. And people fucking hated it. Myself included. It made the game boring, it lost its sparkle, and it made people stop playing. So Overwatch 2 fell victim to this exact same thing, where everyone's like, oh, it's too hard to follow. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. But those things and those combos and those moments are exactly what let it carve out a niche. The hero shooter genre is not a McDonald's. It's a steakhouse. It's a nicer place to eat. So the more you trim the fat and you cut down what's on the plate, you're not offering yourself, you're not making yourself a better business. You're actually shooting yourself in the foot. So that's the biggest mistake that you can make. And I know this because I made the same mistake myself. I thought it was a good idea at first. I mean, I didn't have any say in the game design back then. But I realized later on, and I learned that lesson that, hey, this actually is bad for this genre. So Overwatch decided to cut what was on their plate, cut their offering, Marvel Rivals decided to give you an all-you-can-eat buffet. And man, it fucking worked. Boy, did it work. It worked like a charm.
Mixed. Though fundamentally, it does have something that Overwatch does not have in that it is a third-person game. Now, if you look at Counter-Strike, I mean, obviously, it's guns and knives because those are the most tangible and visible things. But with, say, League of Legends, which has now got hyper-expensive skins that can cost hundreds of dollars, that's third-person. You can see your character. It's almost as if regularly seeing the thing that you're expected to buy kind of matters.
It helps.
Rivals then has got the standard suite. It's got a battle pass, it's got cosmetic bundles, but where things get a little bit dementia-inducing is, of course, currencies is one of those. So all those things I mentioned are purchased using units, and you can get units through battle pass progression, challenges, events, and something that NetEase knows very well indeed, promo codes. So you may not know this if you don't play them, but promo codes are a massive part of the gacha game world and culture. Basically, gacha game players are not stupid. They know that it is a crazy gambling hellscape, but the peace is kept because the gacha companies generally...
I have been got by Raid Shadow Legends, boys. Holy fuck, they got me. It's fun, though. I've been grinding, but holy shit.
Deliver a shitload of content, and they're often quite generous when it comes to things like promo codes, especially in major holidays and anniversaries. So their inclusion here is a smart leg up on the Western competition. It means if they just want to hit the engagement lever, they can do that. Now, what's odd then is the premium currency, which is called Lattice. It's $1 per 100, it's purchasable in discounted bundles, which all seems completely normal. But what's strange is it's used in only one way, converting all of your Lattice into units at a 1-to-1 ratio, which does feel really quite overcomplicated. Then, of course, like Fortnite, there's a currency that you use within the Battle Pass to unlock things. Now, I have noticed pricing is raising some eyebrows. I mean, yes, things are extremely expensive in free-to-play games. You're basically looking at bundles costing $20 worth of units or $35 worth of units if it is an MCU thing. And of course, to explain the MCU thing, well, obviously, the mouse has got to get its cut. But there is one thing where I actually think we've seen good movement here. The Marvel Rivals Battle Passes do not expire, just like Halo Infinite and just like Helldivers 2.
Yeah, why would you?
This is one of the things that I have been hammering on about for quite a while now in the industry. I think that expiring Battle Passes, say in Overwatch 2 and some other games, are basically tantamount to FOMO exploiting pseudo-theft. I mean, the idea that you could buy one of these things and then it'll just go kaput, and that they actually weaponize FOMO to sell you progression through the thing that you already bought. Because whenever you buy a battle pass, yeah, you might intend to finish out the thing, but life can get in the way. If that happens in this video game, you're still going to have your battle pass. You will not have been screwed. Blizzard will happily.
They don't lose any money because they don't lose any money. They've already made the sale to you. Like, they've already made the item. It's not like a physical world where you have a store and you have inventory that you have to move. It's digital. You've already made it. You don't lose anything. So why not get consumer trust by letting it run? Fuck it. Do it. And let people go back and buy the old ones too. Well, you don't lose any. It's found money. It's a lose-lose if you get rid of it. You're hurting your consumer, and you're not extending the shelf life of work you've already done for free. So what's the point of closing it off? Let people buy whatever they want and work on it. You know?
Screw you in all of their games with the way that they do their battle passes.
There's no way Raid Shadow Legends is fun. Oh, brother. Oh, brother. Oh, brother. I mean, dog. I have 813 hours on Raid Shadow Legends. Oh, man. Oh, man. It's pretty fun. I'm not going to lie to you.
A good move. And I hope that a real major game that is doing numbers like this, implementing this type of battle pass, actually gets rewarded, because this is what needs to be the norm. So overall, it's mostly standard, a little bit of a mixed bag, but they have made a major piece of progress. The next thing to talk about then is the challenge of running a game like this, because already they are seeing cries and demands from players for the sorts of features that some people in Overwatch loved and others didn't. Launch Overwatch 1 was a blast. It was an often busted blast, and many of us experienced that with the classic event. Now, with top-down pressure to focus in the Overwatch,
I just run it in the background. It's great.
Desire to actually make Overwatch 2 PvE instead, so that they could have a stepping stone to something that would approximate Project Titan, the failed MMO, it's safe to say that Overwatch struggled with direction just a little bit. That still is playing out today, where Overwatch has basically morphed into its PvP self, and if you had hopes for anything else, well, man, that just sucks. Now, Rivals is a bit like Launch Overwatch. Some shit is completely busted, and it's a bloody good time that's thrilling players, but it does mean they're seeing similar pressures. A lot of people want some form of role log. They'll also want some form of role queue. How are they going to deal with this? And I say that because we've typically seen live service shooters through a ranked progress-first, esports-focused lens, something I see a lot of pushback to in comments of our videos. So navigating that is going to be a challenge here, especially because they have got such a broad audience. An audience that, in terms of its dynamics, I would say is far closer to the Overwatch 1 ginormous audience than the far smaller and I suppose more clearly competitive PvP-focused Overwatch 2 audience. Now, where Overwatch was torn between multiple directions, it's clear that things are going to be a little bit different here, because this game is launching the way that it was intended. It's got 3-month seasons, multiple maps and heroes a season. That's the way that the thing is set up. They also get to have obvious marketing around films, major comic things, games, but right now, its real strength is a distinct lack of a calcified, ranked PvP-focused culture, which is what's set in Overwatch 2, where, of course, lots of people within that culture don't agree with each other on what direction the game should go in. And what that essentially means to me is that in terms of gameplay, this is the inheritor to Overwatch 1's crown. Now, from a world-building perspective, it is not an inheritor to Overwatch 1, and that is the thing that's tragic about Overwatch 1. So many people fell in love with the world, only to be profoundly let down, where the Overwatch world has basically just turned into an excuse to have branded crossover events. We live in hell. But at least if you like that gameplay, you've now got a game that seems catered to you. And NetEase's challenge then is avoiding the mistakes of Blizzard. On balance, I actually think they will largely succeed in this one, but only time will tell.
I think they will. And also, by the way, they've succeeded in features. Like Marvel Rivals is going to prove every claim that creators like myself have made about Blizzard not understanding certain things accurate. Do you remember the hero bans fiasco? And I admit this. Frito was 100% right about hero bans. 100% right. Hero bans would have solved the biggest problems Overwatch 1 had with incompetent balance by letting the players do it. And what system did they try to introduce? They did weekly hero pool bans, and the bans in my contender season got selected by Zoe's cat. Blizzard let a cat pick bans. Nothing against Zoe, by the way. I love Zoe. I think she's great. But that's insane. That's fucking insane. You think I'm kidding, guys. I'm literally not joking. A feline, which we love cats, chose the bans over human beings. And after playing with it, like, and honestly, those hero pools being what they were turned me off of hero bans. But I just realized, like most of the other things, Blizzard did it wrong. They just did. They did it wrong. They made a wonderful game, but this game already has hero bans in ranked. It's a good system. And it's time to have an uncomfortable conversation. I'm making my next prediction. And this is a big reason why I think this actually is the reason why Marvel Rivals is going to surpass Overwatch. I'm going to say it now. I think that Marvel Rivals is going to surpass Overwatch. And there's a new king on the throne. Nobody's talked about this yet because they don't really see it through the lens and the power of content creators. Marvel Rivals is going to be a better game for content creation than Overwatch 2. Here is why. 1, Overwatch 2's reputation is unsalvageable because it was a bunch of smoke and mirrors, unfortunately. And again, this is no flame towards anybody. I wish them all the best. Like, to me, it's water under the bridge. But, if you're going to look at how a casual gamer looks at Overwatch, when they hear Overwatch 2, they think of all these failures. As long as the Overwatch 2 branding is there, it stands no chance. No chance at all. It's perma-tainted. They never delivered on their promise. You can get past scandals as a company. You can get past anything as a company. As long as you deliver a product to the customer, because like most gamers, I hate, like, this is going to piss off Twitter. I don't care. It's just true. Most gamers at home don't give a shit about all the other stuff that goes on. They don't care. They don't care. I'm sorry. People at home don't care. They just want to get on and play a video game. They could, like, you could be doing heinous things. And if you deliver a top tier game, gamers at home are not going to give a fuck. I'm sorry. Like, that might make people mad when I say that, but it's just true. Most average people at home just want to get on and play a game. They're not here to be a part of political movements or whatever the hell else is going on. They're just there to game, right? And that just is what it is. That's just, it for better or for worse, that's the reality that's been proven over and over again. All good, right? I forgot where was. Oh yeah. So most people don't care. So the Overwatch 2 branding is just burned to bridge. They just didn't deliver the product. So at the end of the day, people are going to look down on it. Okay. Number 2, Marvel is going to have more characters. What does that mean if they're putting in more characters? They already have established brands and massive fan bases behind them, like Johnny Storm, Gottlieb, whatever his name. I think that's his name, Johnny Storm from the Fantastic Four. These characters, if they're releasing more, what does that mean for creators? Okay, that's more big videos. Some of the biggest videos in the hero shooter genre are what? Hero releases and hero guides. Overwatch will only ever do 3 a year, and they're new characters where they have to write the stories, make compelling stuff. It's more work. The degree of difficulty for Marvel to do this, where they already don't care about overlap, they're already open to making abilities crazy and wacky. Their abilities in Marvel Rivals are way over the top, including the team-ups, right? So as a content creator, I'm way more compelled to make videos covering these new characters that might release more often, that have bigger fan bases, that have more lore videos you can dive into. The Overwatch lore has just been it's not good. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say it. I am not. I used to be very interested in the Overwatch lore, but like, I'm not gonna lie. They did so many of, like, my favorite characters have just been done so dirty in Overwatch. I'll say it. Like, for me personally, like, I was very interested in Hanzo. I thought he was really cool. And, like, they're putting skins in the game of Hanzo licking his paws because he's a furry now, I guess. I don't know. Which is fine, by the way. I honestly, like, you do you in life. You do you in life. It's all good. But to me, like, that just was not the vibes his character gave off at all. And then they put him, like, blowing kisses in the fucking Loverwatch skin. And I get those skins sold, but, like, this dude was supposed to be like Itachi Uchiha to me. That was kind of the vibes that he got, right? I'm serious. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. I'm 100% serious. And it's becoming really clear that, like, that kind of stuff just it's not about like story building of the characters anymore. It's about the skins, and that's fine if they want to make their money. But like, look at launch Hanzo. Like go back to 2016 when you got the Dragons trailer, and if I told you in 2023 or whatever that 2024, like they're gonna put this guy in like a cat suit and a skin and a bundle, and like he's gonna be licking his paws more than he's getting like very dark themed stuff, I lose interest there. I just do. It just, you know, I just do. I lose interest there. And again, to be fair, I was never super. No, honestly, I was into the Overwatch lore pre-Overwatch 2. Pre-Overwatch 2, I was into the Overwatch lore, and then it kind of got killed for me. Itachi, I actually was watching some stuff about Itachi last night. I love Itachi's a great character, man. Super cool. Super cool. If you've not watched Naruto, greatest story ever told, in my opinion. And that's no flame. It's just an observation. Unfortunately, when you say stuff like that, people tend to take it in the worst way possible. And I really don't mean that in a bad way. That's just what happened to me. That's just like, I look at this and like, that was my favorite character, and I think he's been done dirty. That's just my opinion. You're free to have yours as well. So yeah, I mean, the character releases are going to be much better to cover, and there's just a much wider reach that Marvel has from a content creation perspective. Okay. So from a content, and I can tell you, like, I actually don't know how much I can tell you, but like here's what I'll say about like the Marvel team internally. Like, they are making, like, I will tell you, as a creator who used to be involved with the Overwatch program, I have nothing to do with it anymore. I don't want anything to do with it. I'm on my own. I'm happy about that. To somebody who's now in the Marvel creator program, they're doing shit that Blizzard has never done for its creators, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Like, it is going to be a gold mine for content creators to come make videos. Gold mine. And they treat you so well. They've been so nice. Their devs have listened. The way their community managers treat people. And I've told you guys, like, you know, some of the horror stories I had in the Overwatch creator program, more old school than new school now. You know, I'm not gonna get into it now. There's no point. But like, you know, it's great over there. Like, they're like, I'm telling you guys, I'm not sure if I can say like what they're doing, so I'm not going to. But like, let me tell you, big brain as fuck. They're so smart. They are so smart. They thought all of this shit through, and they're brilliant about it. Brilliant. So you're going to have more content to cover, a wider casual audience to make videos for, bigger videos to drop. From a content creator standpoint, with wackier characters and abilities too, with a higher skill ceiling, there's going to be more to explore. And with the different team ups that come each season, there's also even more to cover on that front. So I'm just going to tell you, as a content creator, Marvel Rivals will be a better game to cover than Overwatch will. At least right now. Okay? Moving on to the next point here. Again, like, as a game, Marvel Rivals embodies the fun parts of hero shooters more than Overwatch does, because they're more over the top with abilities. The hero designs are all crazier and more unique. The team-ups are insane. The systems are no political garbage either yet. Listen, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it, and this is going to upset some people. I'm sorry, but I am the messenger here. I'm not, listen, don't shoot the messenger. There's two ways that you could look at how politicized Overwatch has become. And if you don't think Overwatch has become political, you're crazy. You're absolutely crazy. Overwatch has made it a point to send a political message. And you could look at this as two ways. You could say, okay, it further carves out their niche, right? Because as a business, like, you want to carve out your niche. You want to have clientele that like come to you actively and do these things. And Overwatch has made it very, very clear publicly that they are very, very woke. They have. They've done it. Whether you think that's for better or worse, your opinion, I'm not here to tell you what you need to think. I'm not. It's not my job. That being said, if you were to look at the type of person and the type of people, I should say, not one person, that Overwatch had in 2016 to 2020, there were way more casual dudes out there. And regardless of what stance you take, if you take a stance politically on a product,
greetings.
By default, you're alienating a shitload of people. You just are. That's what's happening. It is what it is. For better or for worse, you tell me. I'm not trying to say it's better or worse. Actually, I am. I think it's better to appeal to as a wide of an audience as possible. I think. I am. But at the same time, it's like, art. A lot of art's political. So who the hell am I? Again, who am I? I don't have all the answers here. I'm not going to claim to. But this is just something Overwatch has done. And I think that does limit their audience. I think it does. Woke activists are attacking Marvel rivals, so that means the game is good. I don't even know how to reply to that, if I'm being honest with you. To me, to me, that's the least important part. That's something that only matters when you've made a good product already, if that makes sense. Like, to me, that kind of stuff is just icing on the cake. You know what I mean? Like, they baked a really good double chocolate fudge cake, okay? I'm more interested in eating the cake personally. Like, even lore stuff to me is kind of icing on the. Does that make sense? Like, to me personally, like, that's kind of like the lowest tier part. Like, I still have played Overwatch like for fucking ever. Like, I don't. Like, I'm here to play the game. I'm not here to, lecture people on lore and stories and shit like that. But I know it does matter. But it isn't important. Like, I would be dishonest if I did not bring that up to you guys, though. And I try to sit there and just speak my mind. But yeah, back to it either way. From a content creator's perspective, from all this other stuff, that Overwatch is a little bit more limited like that. Like, there are people out there that will see a lot of the stuff that Overwatch is doing, and they will say, I'm not touching it for these reasons. It's become a very legitimate trend, and you've seen it. And the reason why I say this, and I know a lot of people are tuned into gaming specifically, but, for me, like, my dad's been in business for 50 years. This is how I was trained to think. I was trained to look for derivatives. I was trained to look for opportunity. That's the big reason I started streaming Overwatch on YouTube instead of on Twitch, because I knew YouTube was a massive platform with nobody streaming on it. Tell me how Overwatch has all this viewership on YouTube back in the day and nobody streamed on it. YouTube's still my bigger platform to this day. Right? I've trained to look at the markets, look at opportunities, and go find them. My dad drilled that into me, and I'm very grateful for that. It's... Oh, where was I going with that, chat? I'm yapping. I'm brain farting now. What was I? Oh, yeah. So, like, you have seen companies. Double, triple down on political messaging to people, regardless of what it might be. And you have never seen some of these brands get destroyed in the way that they have. And this is somebody from the outside looking in, to be clear with you. Like, what happened to Bud Light, I don't know if you guys saw that, matters. They lost $8 billion in market cap. They're still trying to recover, even now. That's never happened before. That's never, ever happened before. And it's like, and again, I find all this stuff super interesting to watch. I'm more of a spectator, to be clear. But that's interesting. Like the culture change in America. We've been in this kind of culture from, I would say, 2018, really 2019 to 2024. And people have just outright rejected it. It's crazy. It's actually crazy. Like, we are on a very interesting path as humanity, and this was a big turning point. Like, this year was a lot changed. Was that this year or last year? I don't remember. I'd have to look it up. But I just remember, like, as somebody who follows a lot of these companies, I find it very interesting. So you're seeing a lot of change there. So those are mostly optics, but when it comes to the core product, I just yapped for so long. I'm so sorry, guys. I think out loud a lot of the time, so I appreciate you guys bearing with me on it. So much has changed. Marvel has so many places it can go. Overwatch has shown it can't go anywhere. Overwatch has already hit its ceiling, and I'll be frank, under Microsoft, it's not going to go any farther. It's not. They're too bloated. There's too many big picture things going on at that company. And Overwatch is not the biggest thing at the table anymore. It's not. Overwatch 2 sealed that fate. So Overwatch is going to have to fight an uphill battle to regain trust. They dug their own grave, and they went the wrong direction for 4 or 5 years, really. 4 or 5 years of going in the wrong direction for Overwatch.
I think marketing ate everything over product quality.
Jalen, thank you the 5. I'm not sure what that means. I'm sorry. Thank you for the 5. But like for Overwatch, like it's just a depressing wasteland to play. It's not engaging, like other than like super casually, at least for me. And I don't wish ill on the game. but it is intentional. It is limited its scope by what it practices across the board, from the gameplay loop being more one-dimensional and simple to how it's become probably the most political game out there. I don't think there's a game that's more like politically driven with its messaging than Overwatch. I think Overwatch is in the top 5, top 10, undoubtedly, which is going to limit the scope for better or for worse. Whether you think that's okay or not, it's reality. They aren't a recipe for success. They aren't. And Marvel has doubled down and laid the foundation to succeed on every front, from story writing to gameplay being crazy to it being more casual. I think Marvel Rivals is a much more approachable, casual game because people know what they're getting into with hero shooters. They do. And they don't have roll lock, which means their queue times are much better. They've got better systems. Like, this game is the true sequel. No, I was a Rivals fan from the day I played it. I had my doubts. I saw like the own and unknown stuff, and I had my doubts about Marvel Rivals. I did. But the second I played the game in the alpha, I was like, yo, this game is really fucking good. But what's political about it? The gay characters? Oh, like, they're very, very clearly heavily invested in the woke movement. Yes. Yes. Just to outright tell you, yes. They're very, and listen, let me be very crystal clear here about what my perspective is before people, because I have kids on Twitter that'll, kids bop it. They'll pop it, twist it, smack it, whatever that, not kids bop. What is that name? What was that toy? Well, okay, I'm just showing my fucking age now it was like a wheel and you could bop it and stuff, and it was at Toys R Us, whatever. Okay. That's not the point. But yes, no, like Blizzard has very, very made it crystal clear that they are very, very, very woke, and listen, I hate to sound like some of the other creators out there who are like, there's fucking pronouns in my video games. That's not what I'm saying at all, but they are, yes. And they've made it very, very clear that is something that they want to pioneer. And if they want to make that decision, go for it. It's your company. You can carve out your niche, do what you want to do. By all means, go for it. But what is that? Wheel of Fortune? No, it wasn't Wheel of Fortune. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about, though, which toy that is. But yeah, no, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, America has come out and really gone, like, the casual American has come out against that kind of culture. That's what just happened in this year. And as somebody who tries to pay attention to trends in business, it concerns me for Overwatch's future. Yeah, absolutely. After seeing what happened to companies like Bud Light, which granted is a very different target audience, right? It really depends on who your target is. So before people, it's way more gray area than it is black and white here. And I think the world will be a much better place if people accepted that. But no, yeah, it's crazy to see that. So yeah, Overwatch is definitely really, really, Buddy's not reading the right chat. Wait, what's it called? Hold on. What's that toy? It's called Bop It? Is it really called Bop It? Are you sure? Okay, cool. Whatever that toy was called. I used to have those back in the day. They were really fun. So yeah, I mean, listen, you tell me if it's for better or for worse, but it definitely is limiting your audience, undoubtedly, because there are people who will see it and say, I'm not touching it. And those people who used to see that stuff.
Kaplan. How's it going? I'm Jeff.
How big of the audience it is, I don't know, but they just won't play. Does that help you or hurt you? It depends on what your goal is, right? Who the hell am I to tell you? I'm just a dude on the internet, right? I don't really matter that much. But anyway, continuing on. So yeah, and again, to be clear, you do what you want with your life. It's not my place to tell you. I respect all religions and creeds. So as long as you're doing your own thing and you're not hurting anybody and you're just trying to live your life, I will always respect it. That's just the kind of guy I am. It's like, I'm not, who the hell am I to tell you how to live your life? I'm not. I don't matter. But yeah, moving on, let's talk, like, even the report system. And this is going to be a big video, me yapping, just giving my thoughts because I love to do it. Like, Overwatch's like that same culture is why the report system is cracked down so heavily on Overwatch, and it's just banning people constantly. It's forcing people out of voice chat. Like, all of the new shit that Blizzard is doing, even in Call of Duty, you're seeing this happen too. I've seen a ton of Call of Duty creators create this as well. So yeah, it's like Blizzard is actively pushing people away from their games. I think Call of Duty is next. Call of Duty's at a huge default disadvantage. because they have 3 studios trying to crank out a new game every 3 years or whatever it is. And that's counterproductive because their anti-cheats can't keep up. Their other stuff can't keep up. People become bonded to a product and want to move on. Call of Duty, like Overwatch, has officially been dethroned. Could they take it back? Absolutely, they could. But as of right now, Overwatch has been dethroned. And if COD is next, if it keeps on its path. If you think that your average gamer at home does not want to get on Call of Duty and talk shit, that's the biggest, that's what COD is known for. Like, it's not like, I'm sorry, COD gameplay has been the same shit for 12 years. People get on to be social and talk shit. That's why they're on Call of Duty. They're not there to pick daisies and make friends. Hell no. They're there to talk shit. And you start perma-banning people who are talking shit just for saying I banged your mom or something. They're not going to play. Like, you don't understand gamers. They're not playing COD because the franchise is good. You guys put out shit COD year after year. And when somebody finally makes a good remake like H2M, you shut it down because you're scared it's going to overtake Black Ops 6 because you guys know you can't make a good fucking game. You know you're going to ruin everything you touch. It's ass. I would have played H2M and I would have bought a copy of an old game to play it. But you best believe I'm not even fucking logging into Black Ops 6 a single time after you all desecrated Warzone. Warzone 1 was a great game. You desecrated it to make new ones. And then a remake of my childhood that you donkeys are too stupid to make. And I'm going to call you donkeys because you're goddamn donkeys because you shut the fucking game down, you dumbass executives. You're idiots. What the fuck? I'm going to say it because I'm mad. I would have played it. Now, congratulations, guys. I'm not playing another COD again. Go fuck yourself.
Thanks, love. My favorite thing in the whole world is working 10 hours a day providing for my wife and kids and coming home to be lecture road by terminally online dorks. If only they put that much effort into a job application.
And you know what, man? You know what? I agree. Who the hell are you to lecture me and all this shit? I'm done. I'm done listening to it. I'm done, to be honest with you. I'm done. I grew up getting lectured by Christians, and I fucking hated it. Guess what? I hate it on the other side, too. It ain't complicated. You do you, live your life. I'm fucking tired of it. Sick and tired of it. Thanks to 20 Grab Meet. I'm wishing your family well, and I'm glad you provide for them. Good for you, buddy. That's a crazy-ass comment, though. I won't lie. I don't know if I'd go that far and, like, the shit I say, but, like, for me, I'm good with that. And I don't care. And I wish anybody who has their own views the best. I truly do. But I'm tired of being lectured. I don't care who's lecturing me. You know, it's a lot. It's a lot. We can move on and get in game here. But it's super interesting. I think Overwatch has officially been dethroned. I'm excited to see the competition in the industry. And I think that Overwatch's like engine and like the FPS elements will let it be more of a try-hard competitive game. I think Overwatch esports. Although I could be wrong. I mean, it depends on what makes the esport. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see exactly how it unfolds. I'm excited to see what's going to happen from here on out. I think Overwatch has its own niche, and Marvel Rivals has its niche as well. I think Marvel has executed at a high level, and they've done a great job. And I hope both games succeed. I do. But for me, this is the first time I haven't even thought about Overwatch in years, and I'm happy. So, yeah. All right. What a watch. Great video. Make sure to go sub to his channel and support him. Did a great job with it. And that was a long one, boys. Sorry, I just reacted for an hour. Jesus Christ, Sam. I'm such a yapper now. No, it's cool. It's cool. It's very cool. Very cool. Okay.